Good morning. Myself, Carli Jonker, and my colleagues Wayne van Zijl and Kayleigh Greenslade, all senior lecturers in the School of Accountancy at the University of the Witwatersrand, will be discussing personal budgeting and finances of students amid COVID-19. While specifically focusing on budgeting during COVID-19, these skills should be useful for you in future as well. What we will be discussing today are the following. What is the difference between a need and a want? How to manage existing and get out of debt. Income insecurities. Students are either dependent on income from their funders, their relatives, or from working themselves. A reduction in income is a reality at present, and we provide some guidance on how to deal with income insecurities. Finally, we will be discussing budgeting. This is a crucial aspect of managing one's personal finances. So the first question we ask is, what is the difference between a need and a want? Now, a need is something we must have in order to survive, while a want is something that we desire, but we do not need to survive. The terms wants and needs are used in today's economy, but not always accurately. According to Abraham Maslow, one of the most prominent psychologists of the 20th century, the most basic needs are physiological. Physiological needs are defined as a requirement of human survival, including health, food, water, and a shelter. These needs are primary, essential, and non-negotiable. Now, what is the impact of COVID-19 on needs and wants? Now, COVID-19 has brought unprecedented unemployment and financial insecurity into our lives. But it's not the first time people have faced challenges fulfilling some of their basic needs. Now, if we make this practical to students, items that might have been a want in the past may well now be a need. Now, also vice versa, but let's look at an example. Let's look at an iPad. So previously, an iPad would definitely have been a want. But if COVID-19 persists, it may now become a need. However, if someone is willing to give you their old iPad, desiring the latest, newest iPad will most likely still be a want as opposed to a need, as the old iPad will serve the function of enabling you to study online. So an old iPad is a need, but a new iPad might still be a want. Now you need to question your wants and your needs. What do you want and what do you really need? Okay, then evaluate your current financial situation. Take a look at the big picture. Make two lists, one for needs and one for wants. As you make the list, ask yourself the following. Why do I want it? How would things be different if I had it? What other things would change if I had it, for the better or for the worse? Which things are truly important to me? And does this match my values? Here are also a few more practical strategies to differentiate between a need and a want. Ask yourself, did I always need this? If not, it may be a want as opposed to a need. Hold off buying or ordering online for 48 hours. If after 48 hours you still feel you need it, then buy it. If you realize you don't need it, then don't buy it. Speak to a friend or family member about it. If they think you need it, it may be a need. If they think you don't need it, then it may be a want. Ask yourself how many of your close family friends or direct family have this. If they don't have it, it may be a want and not a need. Now, there are also a few things you need to look out for in order not to be confused between a want and a need. Okay, you should be wary of any advertisements which try to convince you that you need something. Companies spend billions in trying to convince the public why we need their products. Some are genuine, while others may not have your best interest at heart. To conclude on need and wants, it's really important for you to differentiate and to look at yourself and determine for yourself what is a need and what is a want during this time. The next section I'm going to discuss is how to get out of debt. Some of you might have debt at this stage. Okay, so we're going to look at how to get out of debt. Now, first of all, what is a debt? A debt is any amount that you owe to someone else. It might be personal loans, it might be a credit card, it might even be your Edgar's or any other store card that you have. So if you find yourself within a position that you have debt currently, what do you do to get out of that debt? So the first thing we recommend is contact your creditors. If you have debt and there's uncertainty, you cannot just leave it. In our current environment with COVID-19, if your income has decreased and you can't afford your current repayments, speak to all your creditors and try to renegotiate your payment terms so that you can at least pay something. You need to tell them what your situation is rather than just not paying. So I'm going to look at a few practical examples as to how to pay off your debt. So the first thing is stop spending on wants to prevent further indebtedness. You then need to know what all your debts are. So make a list of the total amount owing for each debt, the minimum monthly repayment, and the interest rate charge on each. Be careful as these interest rates can be very high. As per the National Credit Act, maximum interest rates are linked to the South African repo rate. For example, home loans may charge the repo rate times 2.2 plus 5%. Currently, that will give you 14.35%. Credit cards, store cards, overdrafts, vehicle loans may charge the repo rate times 2.2 plus 10%, resulting in 19.35% per annum. So some interest rates are a lot higher than the others. Okay, so that was the first thing you had to do. Then, secondly, you need to plan how you are going to pay each balance. Now, there are currently two ways. Of doing this. The first one is the avalanche method versus the snowball method. So I'm going to explain to you the various methods. So firstly, you made a list and you identified all of your debts. You wrote down the amount, the monthly repayment, you assessed the interest rate, and now you're planning on how to pay those balances. Okay, so the two ways are the avalanche method. Now that is a method, okay, and this method is the way that saves you the most money. List your debts in order of the highest interest rate to the lowest interest rate. And then you start paying the debts which charge the highest interest rate first. So for example, you'll start paying off your store card, your credit card, because those interest rates are higher than, for example, your home loan. This way will save you the most money. Then we are looking at the snowball method. The snowball method, what that is here you list and pay all monthly repayments from the smallest to the largest. So you start paying off your smallest debt. As you finish paying the smallest balance, you add this money to the next balance and so on until you have paid off all your debts. This method has the physiological benefit of actually seeing a number of small debts paid off more quickly, and that will encourage you to keep paying. However, it may result in you paying more interest in total. A balance must be struck between the cost and your financial discipline in sticking to a plan. The snowball method is useful to those with less discipline, as the psychological reward of seeing that you have less debt can encourage you to continue. Thirdly, pay a little bit more than the minimum payment if you can. This will help you to pay less interest and you will be able to pay the balance over a shorter period. This will also improve your credit rating. Lastly, be cautious of taking payment holidays. Some of you may think that during this, both interest accumulating and payments are suspending, but that's not necessarily the case. So ensure that you understand all of the terms and conditions of a payment holiday before you do that. So to conclude on debt, I'm going to give you 5 practical ways to get out of and stay out of debt. So the first is stop shopping. If you don't have the money for a new pair of shoes, don't buy them. Put your credit card away in a safe place so you don't feel tempted to use it. Don't carry it with you at all times. So use your cash to buy only what you need. The third is use a budget. Consider selling all items that you don't need, that's the fourth, or don't use anymore, and use this to pay off your debts. Don't buy other ones with this money. And when you have finished paying your debt, close your account. So that is the conclusion on wants versus needs, and if you have debt, how to get out of that debt. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Kayleigh, who will be discussing the income uncertainties in the time of this COVID-19 crisis that we find ourselves in. Thank you.